What are we discussing on today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast? Despite the series win, do you feel good after that Colorado Rockies series? And what to do with our ace pitcher, Zac Allen?
You are Locked on Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day. You're listening to who? The always charismatic host of this podcast, Millard Thomas, multimedia journalist and a graphic designer. So please go check out my website, millardthomas24.myportfolio.com. On there, you can see all my latest work, from my packages to my articles, my photos, and my graphic design. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. On today's Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, we're going to be breaking down that horrendous D-backs versus Rockies series, what to do with Zac Gallen, and then previewing the rematch against the LA Dodgers. So, whole bunch I want to talk to you guys about on today's podcast. But first, I want to say thank you for making Locked on Diamondbacks your first listen every day. I would not be able to do this podcast without you, my loyal listeners, sharing, subscribing, reviewing, doing all that so I could do this podcast for you. Thank you. It's free. It's available on all platforms, so please continue to tell your friends. And of course, one of those platforms is YouTube. Please hit subscribe to Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube. We try to go live on YouTube Sunday through Thursday. Can't do it every time, but guess what? I tweet out on the socials, Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube, Locked on Diamondbacks on Twitter, or at Creator Thomas 24 for my personal account on Twitter, because I will tweet out before I go live, or hit that little bell notification on Locked on Diamondbacks on YouTube so you get notified when I go live. But now let's jump into the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. All right, let's talk about the D-backs versus Rockies series and lessons that we learned, because I think the biggest lesson I learned is the D-backs and the Rockies, who are on pace to potentially be the worst team in Major League Baseball history. These two teams are currently on the same level. If you were an alien, this was the first series you ever watched. Never watched baseball. They gave you a little context, not in terms of who the teams are, but just the rules, right? You need to know how the sport of baseball is played. If this was the first series you ever watched, you'd be like, okay, D-backs won, but man, were those two teams close. Coin flip series. D-backs win with a 1-0 victory in the finale, as close of a series that you can get outside of game one, of course. And so if you were a neutral fan who would just get into baseball and you watch the series, you'll say, man, those are two highly competitive teams. They must be neck and neck in the postseason race. Two, teams that are close in the division standing, something, right? At least two teams that are close in talent at the very least from what I've seen in this series. And if you ask an objective fan, they would tell you no. They would tell you that Rockies team is one of the lowliest teams we have in all of baseball, one of the saddest teams we have going right now in terms of the product that they've been putting on the field this season. But none of that has mattered when you play the Arizona Diamondbacks, because our bullpen is an equalizer against all. And despite the D-backs winning this series against the Colorado Rockies, I thought the way they looked, and give me a second because I wrote down some words from the thesaurus.com. I thought they looked, and I started with the word horrendous, by the way. I thought they looked horrendous, abhorrent, appalling, atrocious, awful, disastrous, dreadful, ghastly, harrowing, hideous, horrible, horrid. Maybe some of those words were a little extreme, some of those adjectives, but this D-backs team is playing absolutely awful baseball right now, and you are going against one of the worst teams in Major League Baseball, maybe the worst team in Major League Baseball history. This was a series where we were talking about a potential D-back sweep. Of course, because of their pitching, you can never truly trust this squad right now, because I don't know if there's a scenario worse than DEFCON 1, but if there is one, we are certainly in it with the D-backs bullpen, and we've been in it for the last few weeks. I know I blame Torey Lovullo a lot on the podcast, and I think for good reason. There has been times he has absolutely mismanaged this bullpen. But when I look at that Saturday game against the Colorado Rockies, yes, if you want to criticize him for one pitch, Kevin Ginkel, I think you can, because I remember there was a game earlier this season. Justin Martinez came out in like the seventh inning to get one pitch, and then we didn't see him the rest of the night. Just those guys are too good to do that. But also at the same time, Ginkel hasn't been that good this season. And so I'm not going to act like he's been great all year. Why didn't he go out there and pitch the seventh? Because Ginkel could have very well made the one pitch to get out of the sixth, go into the seventh, and then have a blow up inning as well. So I'm actually not going to put too much blame. If you want to push back a little bit more, I understand, but I'm not going to put too much blame on Torey Lovullo for not pitching Ginkel more in the game on Saturday, because at the end of the day, sometimes your players just have to get the job done. Jalen Beeks did not do that. Ryan Thompson did not do that. And we're at the point where you cannot trust Ryan Thompson any longer. Not really any D-backs reliever you can trust, but Ryan Thompson is also on that list of do not pitch in high leverage situations. It feels like Ryan Thompson has completely lost it. I like Shelby Miller. I know people are like, it's weak contact. It's a little bit fluky what happens in the ninth inning. I don't know. You could call it fluky, but if every time you come into a save situation, bases are eventually loaded and we are praying that you escape with, the traffic jam, then I think there's probably something wrong. If every time you get into a situation where you bring the tying runner up, the winning run up, there's one out, there's multiple dudes on, like if that's a consistent issue that you're dealing with, I can't just blame weak and random contact. At some point, I have to look at what's wrong with how you're pitching. And then we just can't gloss or look over the fact that Zac Allen has completely turned into a number 5 starter for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And this is someone who I absolutely love, absolutely respect. We'll talk about Zac Allen more, but what happened to that guy? Zac Allen has been so disappointing this season, and the D-backs are not going anywhere if Zac Allen does not get back to the level that we need him to be. And then the final thing that really upset me from this series against Colorado Rockies is something that people always talk about with Torey Lovullo, but something that I haven't really touched on too much. But after seeing some of his comments from that Saturday game, it has to be addressed. The lack of accountability with Torey Lovullo is insane. Torey Lovullo, the Colorado Rockies do not have players that can bang. That is why they're on pace to be the worst team in Major League history. That is why when I previewed this series, this was an offense that ranked bottom 2 in pretty much every statistical category offensively. This was not a good offense. This was not a lineup that had players that could bang. Maybe one or two guys, like I said, with the Goodmans and the Jordan Becks, but everyone outside of that has been struggling this year. So for Torey to go to a press conference and just be like, what can you do? That lineup over there is pretty good. That 7-36 lineup over there, man, they got some studs. No, Torey, go to that podium and say, our guys are terrible right now. Any guy put out there in a save situation, any guy put out there in a high leverage situation, it's just not coming through for me right now. We have to look internally and we have to get better, because if our guys continue to pitch like this, it will be another season where we are on the outside looking in of the playoffs. I need Torey to deliver a harsher message to his team. Stop covering up for their mistakes. Stop saying it's going to be okay. We'll get better the next day, because we keep saying that and nothing is changing. Call out the bullpen. The D-backs scored 12 runs and lost for the first time in their franchise history. The D-backs are 1-3 when scoring 10 runs this year. They currently have the second worst ERA in the National League. This team is going nowhere with a bullpen this bad and a manager whose decisions I question all the time. Now we're facing the Dodgers at the perfect time because they just got swept by the Angels. But again, we were facing the Colorado Rockies and it did not seem to matter. The fact that we scored the way we did on Saturday and still lost is mind-boggling to me. And so after a game like that, I think things around the D-backs front office need to start getting hot, need to start getting uncomfortable. But unfortunately, Lovullo, he isn't holding the players accountable, so you can't expect anyone above him to hold him accountable. Now we'll discuss what to do with Zack Allen in segment number 2. But hey, if you want to place a little wager on an upcoming D-backs game, then the best place to do that is going to be FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. My favorite thing to do on FanDuel is the same game parlay. I saw the D-backs playing the Rockies this series, so you know I have to take the D-backs money line every game, the over on total runs, and give me the over on total bases for Corbin Carroll. When that three-leg hits, it doesn't always hit, but when it does, it brings a big smile to my face. If you want a big smile on your face, just go to FanDuel.com. And if you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And guess what? If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, let's get back to the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast and let's discuss what has happened to Zac Gallen, our former Lord and Savior, because this guy, the way he started his career with the Arizona Diamondbacks, I mean, I was head over heels. I still love Zac Gallen. 2.89 ERA, that's first shortened season with Arizona. 2.75 in the COVID shortened year. A weird 2021 when he was on the injured list all year. Then a 2.54 ERA in 2022, a 3.47 ERA in 23. Last year was an up and down year, but because of injuries, still had a 3.65 ERA. So you look at his entire tenure with Arizona, and he has been a frontline starter, a Cy Young candidate, a guy that finished fifth in voting in 22, third in voting in 23. This is one of the most respected pitchers in the game. This is someone who I think baseball has finally caught up to the perception of Zac Allen. He's just not a good pitcher on a small market team. Then he actually gets the respect of a frontline starter. But for some reason in 2025, he has completely lost it. Now we have seen him kind of struggle since coming off the injured list last year. If you look at his ERA and his last 27 starts, it's like north of 4. But 2025 had just been way worse for Zac Allen. And there are just some really weird numbers when you look at his splits this season. And I think the weirdest one is the home road splits for Gallen, because for some reason, when he's playing at Chase Field, you would think he'd be more comfortable playing at home, being able to see his family, right? Sleep in his bed, play in front of the home crowd and the fans. But in this season, he has struggled at Chase Field. At home, a 844 OPS allowed, 7 home runs allowed, a 603 ERA allowed in 37 innings pitched, 7 starts. But on the road, 592 OPS allowed, a 338 ERA in 3 starts. He had the fantastic start at home against the Mets. But outside of that, think about where his numbers are this season if you take away that Mets start at home. And so Zac Gallen has not performed well in front of the crowd this season, and I can't really put a finger as to why. Yes, Chase Field is like a little bit of a hitter's ballpark when you consider how good this D-backs offense has been the last few seasons, but Gallen is someone that has pitched there for a while now and has dominated inside of Chase Field. And so why all of a sudden would Chase Field be such a tough destination for Zac Gallen to dominate? I don't know what has crept into Zac Gallen's psyche, but for some reason, right now, when he's pitching in Arizona, you are not getting the best version of Zac Allen. And it's disappointing to see because I love Gallen. I love going to games. I love seeing him pitch. I think I've seen Gallen pitch probably more than any other pitcher in this D-backs rotation. And the fact when I show up now to see Zac Gallen pitch, it's almost like an automatic loss. It doesn't make me feel good as a fan. I'm trying to track my win-loss record for every game I go to this season. And every time I go to a Zac Allen start, I walk away with an L, which does not make me feel good. But if we want to change it and try to help out Zac Allen, another weird split that might help him out, for some reason, when he's getting caught by Jose Herrera, he does pitch like a Cy Young Award winner. But when he gets caught by Gabby Moreno, He pitches like Madison Bumgarner, Jordan Montgomery. You get the point. With Jose Herrera, 24 innings pitch, a 2.92 ERA, a 6.25 OPS allowed. But with Gabby Moreno this season, in 31 innings pitch, a 6.89 ERA, an 8.62 OPS allowed. He's clearly better with one catcher versus the other. And sometimes that's just the case. Sometimes you just get into a rhythm, a cadence. For some reason, some catchers just understand the pitcher better. The pitcher might just have a preference for him for whatever weird reason it is. It doesn't really have to make sense sometimes. A lot of these baseball players are superstitious, and there is no rhyme or reason as to why they do things. And so if Zac Gallen is a guy who just straight up pitches better with Jose Herrera, then I think that's an option and a path the D-backs have to explore going forward. But if Gallen doesn't turn it around, what do you do? Because I've seen a discussion online of people saying he should be replaced in the rotation with guys like Ryan Nelson. I know Ryan Nelson was fantastic down the stretch for the D-backs, probably the best D-back starter in the second half last year, but you can't replace Gallen in the rotation as long as Erod is still in the rotation. I don't care if Erod's under contract for the next few years and Gallen is not. I'm not replacing Gallen in the rotation if Erod is still there. Obviously, he's on the injured list right now, but you're not replacing Gallen with Ryan Nelson or any other internal option. Like, I would much rather keep Gallen in the rotation than replace him with an internal option. I think it's borderline idiotic if you think Gallen should be replaced in the rotation for a Ryan Nelson. Like, I know he's been shaky this season, and I know he's been kind of shaky for a couple seasons now, but we still know how talented he is, and I would like to see him work through his struggles. Like, I'm still not that convinced Ryan Nelson is the answer to our problems. As much as I like Ryan Nelson, you're convinced he's that much better of an option than Zac Allen. Maybe he will pitch better, in the short term, but over the course of a season, I think I would still bet on Gallen being a better pitcher. Now, if Ryan Nelson replaced Erod, and then we got to the postseason, and then after seeing a whole rotation of Gallen and a Ryan Nelson, and we realize, okay, our top four in the rotation probably doesn't include Gallen. It probably does include Ryan Nelson, Fott, Kelly, and Corbin Burns. Then I'm okay if you want to put Gallen to the side once we get to the postseason. But for the regular season, I'm definitely riding the ship. I still think he's definitely worth a rotation spot on this team. I think the only question you could have with Zac Allen is it time to explore the trade market for Zac Allen? Now, the issue is his value is probably the lowest it's ever been right now. He's an expiring free agent. If you want to trade him, you probably should have done it in the spring, in the offseason when his value was the highest. But at the same time, if the D-backs wait to trade Zac Allen near the deadline and they're still in the mix and Gallen starts pitching well, are they really going to trade him? Probably not. If you're in the mix for the postseason and Gallen's looking good, you're not going to trade him. But if this season goes sideways, then maybe the D-backs do consider selling low on Zac Allen and just seeing what they can get for him if they know there's not really a better option out there. But for now, I will ride with Zac Gallen and the sinking ship until he can turn it around. If we can get a better external option, sure. I still love Zac Gallen. I want him to succeed. I don't think there's any better internal options right now. But if we get to the postseason and we decide Zac Gallen is not the best person for a playoff rotation, then I'm open to the conversation. Now I want to discuss the Dodgers rematch in segment number 2. But first, I want to talk to you guys about wonderful pistachios. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. My favorite Wonderful Pistachios I actually have right here. Sorry to the audio listeners only. You're going to have to go to YouTube for this one because right next to me, I got 3 of my favorite flavors here. And this is what is great about Wonderful Pistachios. Unsalted right here, no shell. Chili roasted, no shell. And then this one is roasted and salted with the shell. The great thing about Wonderful Pistachios is the variety. You could get salted, unsalted, with shell, no shell, get a little kick to it if you wanted to. No matter what flavor you want, they have a variety and a profile that fits just for you. So please go get yourself some Wonderful Pistachios, get snacking and get cracking with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Back here on the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast, and now let's discuss that LA Dodgers rematch, because of course we played the Dodgers recently in a 4-game series and had the split, but this time it's winner or win or go home. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Probably win or go home this time because it's a 3-game set, and that means whoever takes 2 out of 3 is going to win the series, unlike a series split tie like last time, because ties are for losers. And I actually think the D-backs might be sending out their 3 best pitchers to face the Dodgers in this series. It sounds kind of crazy because we're sending out Brendan Pfaadt, not crazy. Corbin Burns, not crazy. But the third starter, Ryan Nelson, might be surprised to hear that name. Of course, we just discussed him a little bit in the last segment. He's replacing Erod, who is now on the injured list with an injury. If you guys are watching the YouTube channel, you would know I just did air quotes because is he really hurt? Maybe, maybe not. I think it's more just to figure out why is he not pitching well and just give him a fake injury until you can determine why he has been underperforming this season. But I actually think that could be the 3 best starters to face the Dodgers. It might sound insane, considering how great Merrill Kelly has been this season for the D-backs, especially again, when you take out that start against the New York Yankees. Have to remind everyone, when you look at Merrill Kelly's ERA, just imagine he didn't have that 9 earned run performance against the Yankees. Then think about how good his numbers are right now. But when you look at the D-back starters that they're throwing out in this series, I think their recent success against the Dodgers is the reason why I actually think this is the best 3-man rotation you could throw out against LA. Because you look at a guy like Brandon Pfaadt, his most recent start against the Dodgers, quality start, 6.1 innings pitched, 0 earned runs, and that sweeper he had, it had so much bite on it. The fastball I thought had a lot of movement, and the way those 2 pitches played off of each other, I thought he did a great job of attacking the Dodgers hitters, not falling behind in counts, staying aggressive, staying early in the counts and ahead of counts, and always just keeping them on their back heels, especially attacking guys at the top of the lineup. Just unafraid, consistently unafraid stuff from Brandon Pfaadt. I think that's a huge reason why we love the guy, because it feels like he always steps up to the challenge whenever he faces off against these big market teams like the Dodgers, like the Phillies. So I expect Brandon Pfaadt to step up again in LA like we saw him do in the postseason. Corbin Burns, his most recent start against the Dodgers, 7 innings pitched, no earned runs, 5 Ks. And like I discussed, it was the first start all season where I sat back in my chair and I said, wow, this is what it's like to pay a guy the most money in franchise history, because I'm putting a lot of expectations, a lot of pressure on Corbin Burns. We're a mid-market team. And so for us to pay a contract like we did for Corbin Burns, we need the elite level top production. And against the LA Dodgers, he delivered exactly what we are paying him for, and we need him to do it again. Every pitch was working for him in that start against the Dodgers. Go look at his numbers on the cutter, the sinker. It doesn't matter what kind of pitch he is, what kind of pitch he threw. The whiff percentage was high. The put away percentage was high. He was so locked in against the Dodgers in that most recent start. By far the best start he had all season. And then Ryan Nelson, surprisingly, in his career against the Dodgers, 4 earned runs in 24 innings pitched. That's a 1.5 ERA. Even if you look at his most recent start against LA, last July, 5 innings pitched, 1 earned run. This is a trio that likes going against the Dodgers and have matched up very well against them. Meanwhile, the D-backs kind of have matched up pretty well against the Dodgers starters in this series. Landon Knack is going on Monday. He has an ERA close to 6 this season. He gave up 4 earned runs in less than 5 innings pitched last time the D-backs faced him. I don't think Landon Knack is a guy that's scaring me too much. He's been pretty up and down for this Dodgers rotation throughout his time. I do think he's good, but again, there's a reason he's like the 7th, 8th man in a fully healthy Dodgers rotation. Also, when you look at the other guys in this rotation going for the Dodgers this week, Yamamoto, we saw him a week and a half ago. We put 5 runs on his forehead. He has been fantastic. He's been arguably the Cy Young Award winner this season, but against the D-backs, we made him look like a mortal. And then finally, going for the LA Dodgers, you have Dustin May, who looked very good against the D-backs, but our offense was able to do enough to just squeak a couple through, which is all that we needed. And so I like how our pitchers are set up in this series. Our starters have done a good job against that Dodgers lineup. Meanwhile, I like how our lineup has performed against that Dodgers rotation. And so going to this series, I would love to see the power continue from Ketel Marte, who has 6 home runs in his last 10 games. And then if I have to give a little bit of criticism for the D-backs, because we always have to do that, what the hell are we doing with Jordan Lawler? Because we did not start him in the one game against the lefty that the Rockies had. And it feels like there's actually no plan to get him involved. We talked about 3 to 4 starts a week. At this point, we're lucky if he starts 1 game a series. We're not putting him in the most advantageous situations when there's lefties on the mound. We're not even starting him just in general against the Colorado Rockies. What is the point of calling him up if you're not going to play Jordan Lawler? We have good righty batters already with Randall Grichuk and Tim Tawa off the bench. Don't really know what the point of calling Jordan Lawler up unless you just want a talented third right-handed hitter off your bench as well. No plan by this D-backs current leadership of how to manage their top prospect. They are going to ruin his development and stifle him if they don't let him get any sort of playing time and rhythm on the major league level. So if you're not going to play Jordan Lawler, please send him back down to the Reno Aces. Now that's it for this edition of the Locked on Diamondbacks podcast. Come back tomorrow for more Diamondbacks news coverage and insight. And as always, stay safe, stay healthy.